Hello, everybody. I hope you're all doing fantastically well. It's Connor here, and guess what? We are back with another video in your international break. We have the debrief coming this evening from 7 p.m. If you want to tune into a fantastic talk show on the Leeds United Network, make sure you're there from around about 6:45. Get the build-up and all that fantastic stuff into the 7 p.m. show. We have across the pond, we have Generation Leeds recording at 11 o'clock, actually. So make sure you check on over at the Patreon. We've also done an article looking at the depth of the transfer window, which was a real mega read, to be quite honest with you. It's a big article over there. We've got Gabe producing a few articles over there pretty soon as well. So we're getting the whole thing going on over there, everybody. So make sure you check that out if you like your written bits as well, which I would say are pretty goddamn good. Also, on top of that, today's episode is sponsored by IPM Group, a top provider of security facilities management services across the UK. Whether it's CCTV monitoring, commercial cleaning, or custom security solutions, IPM offers 24/7 support and cutting-edge technology. Learn more at ipmgroupuk.com. Everybody, link is in the description below. A Leeds-based company that is supporting this channel. If you want to get involved in supporting this channel, you can do so. Link in the description below, as always, for the email. And check out oneleeds.com, everybody, where you can get all your one-stop shops when it comes to Leeds United. How about that? Tom's in the building. Shout out to you, my friend. Love your channel. Have a pint on me. Tom, it's a little bit too early, mate, but I might get myself an oat flat white with that, mate. I might even include an extra shot for 50p to keep me awake doing all this Leeds United business. But thank you so much, mate. Really appreciate it. Before we start, everybody, it's going to be a long one today, so make sure you like the video. Make sure you strap yourselves in. I want to get your thoughts as well. This is going to be a little bit of the view. You know I'm taking this seriously when I've got a pen in my hand because I've been writing notes, everybody. Yes, we're going to be speaking about the promotion picture at the sort of, well, it's not the midpoint, is it? It's definitely not the midpoint, but it's 4 to 5 games in. We all know that we've got a lot of these international breaks to come with the dour international football that we have to endure during this period, of which none of us care about. We all want to get back to Leeds United, so you're here with me through the breakage of this period to try to split it up for you guys. But it's interesting discussion, discourse. Obviously, we've got the window to talk about, and now we've got to talk about as well how teams have started in this campaign. I want to shout out to Michael Pollard as well, who donated 20 quid on the super thanks after the video, last video as well. I want to say thank you for the £1.99 to Sharkman as well on the last video. After these videos, everybody, you can go and donate. There's a thanks button if you missed the stream or whatever, you want to donate to the channel. Thank you so much. It really helps with the running costs. Rich says, website looks good, fella. We'll look into it when I got a job. At the moment, money's tight. Don't worry about that, my friend. Don't worry about that. Everybody's money is tight. But yeah, there's free bits on there, mate, of course. So, okay, let's start with Sunderland. Let's start with Sunderland. So top of the division at this moment in time. And guys, I have to say, I need your opinions on this, and it'd be interesting to see how many of you have watched Sunderland so far. But I'm really impressed. I'm really, really impressed. You know what I like with this Sunderland side at the minute? Regis Lebris has come in, and he did an interview right at the start, and he did another interview after the game the other day, and he didn't speak about himself once. Not about himself, not what he could improve in you know what the team could improve, what shape they needed to take up. He literally just focused on the individuals, and I was so impressed with that interview. He was saying, "Yep, it is my job to improve X in this position, Y in that position, and Z when he's going forward. But what he needs to do is pull back a little bit, and that's my job." Taking full accountability for the development of the players. And you know why that's massive with Sunderland? Because they are a team full of kids. There's a bit of experience there, but notoriously, they are a team full of kids this season. And I've just been really impressed with how he's conducted himself. Now, on the pitch as well, Jesus Christ, they've, I think, conceded 1 goal, scored 10, beat some big teams so far as well, beat Burnley with 10 men. Beat Sheffield Wednesday when Wednesday just beaten Plymouth, and then Wednesday had beaten Hull away from home, and everybody was talking them up. They went to Sunderland, got absolutely smashed off the park, 4-0, should have been 7-0. And when you're looking at their fixtures so far, away at Pompey as well, which I don't think Portsmouth have been beaten down there for a long time. Obviously, Luton went down there, couldn't win as well. And so Sunderland have had a pretty tough start, I'd say. When you're looking at Sheffield Wednesday, who started the season pretty strongly, or they had started the season pretty strongly at that point. Burnley at home with Sunderland had beat them with 10 men, didn't they? And away at Portsmouth as well. I think they've got another win in there as well, I have to say. But yeah, what I've been really impressed by is the intensity of which they've been playing. The Sunderland fans, and it does hark me back to Marcelo Bielsa a little bit. Sunderland fans are saying that, in 20 years, in 25 years, and we know they've not had that much joy in that period of time, probably similar to us, but they've never seen football like this. And I always think that is interesting, because I remember saying the exact same, and I'm not just drawing a stark comparison here, but it's so interesting because I remember saying that, and my old man saying that to me when Bielsa came in. It was the style of football, the intensity, the ferocity, the development in player. And I remember just saying to my dad, and I was having this conversation and just being like, this is unbelievable. And the Sunderland fans, you check out any forum, you speak to Sunderland fans if they're within your circuit of friends or family or whatever, they're all saying the same thing. They're turning around and going, I've not seen this before. This is unbelievable. So, yeah, we're going to have to wait and see how that develops. I think obviously the main one who we have to look at when it comes to Sunderland is Chris Rigg in the midfield, like a little terrier. Their reincarnation of Catamol probably, but just turned 17 in June. He looks unbelievable, not out of place whatsoever. And there's already murmurs of him, in the next year or two being called up to the England side. So they're going to lose him if they don't go up. But he looks like sort of Archie Gray-esque when you're looking at Sunderland. And, you've got that homegrown player as well. Obviously, Brown's coming from Preston as well, who gives that added experience, scored at the weekend. And Mundle, who is so interesting because they've got a player 21 years of old. I believe he's called Antoine Mundle. But watch the highlights, extensive highlights of them against Portsmouth. He defensively looks so good as a winger, as we saw with Ramazani at the weekend. But also going forward, he got a goal at the weekend. They don't seem to have lost anything with losing Jack Clark. They don't seem to have lost anything. He is rapid, absolutely rapid, really good balance. And you just wonder in that Sunderland team in this league as well, which isn't like the best league on planet Earth. We know that. But if you've got a good team, a good system, players being developed week in, week out, molded, and I just wonder how far Sunderland can go. I think definitely top 6, 100%. But there is an argument if they keep this consistency going. And they're all right when it comes to injuries, because what I will say is the depth isn't amazing. A lot of unknown names on there, which doesn't mean that the depth is poor. It just means maybe they're not recognisable names. But Sunderland at this moment in time look very good. And as Remy said, apparently their new manager is prone for starts like this, but falls off. Michael, who's top when it comes to donations, thanks, mate. He said Sunderland will not maintain it. Winter, a game every three days, crappy away days at horrible grounds, and a foreign manager not used to the lower leagues. Yeah, that'll be interesting, obviously. But right now, what we're seeing with Sunderland, as Dazzle was, says, thanks so much for your donation, mate. Early days with Sunderland. It's all early days, isn't it? We're all making predictions here, and we're all discussing things of which hasn't come to pass yet. It's all predictions. But what I've seen with them so far, they've been very, very, very impressive, I have to say. The only team to have a 100% record, key to note as well. Okay, West Bromwich Albion. Now, they're maintaining that second spot. I think with West Brom, we're all very, very aware of what they're going to bring. With Carlos, it's a manager who I think is a Premier League manager. I can't believe no one's taken a punt on him yet. Has obviously got Huddersfield, a drab Huddersfield side, to a playoff final, has worked his way up, has done a really good job with a West Bromwich Albion team when he took over in absolute turmoil. And Carlos has built this team in his imagination. He's built it. He's got certain figureheads in certain positions. And I think they've got a good depth, especially in midfield. Now, what's interesting with Carlos is he's always going to make you strong at the back. He's going to make you difficult to beat. And I think maybe a lot of Leeds fans, when he was under Bielsa, thought, do you know what? He's very similar in terms of not really focusing on the rear guard and focusing on defending set pieces, etc., etc. He's all about getting forward, that intensity, ploughing teams when it comes to the overlaps and underlaps. That's just not the case. He's always been focused, even when you looked at his Huddersfield team, on just building from the back, but also having that intensity going forward. Now, when they played us, I have to say, I wasn't massively impressed. However, what I will say is if it was a boxing match in that game, West Bromwich Albion would have won the game. Football isn't boxing, as we know, two of my favourite sports. But I thought in that game in particular, they were the ones at least trying to win the game. I think Leeds had just gone there to shut up shop and get a point, as we all know, and we've all analysed since then. But I think it's key to know as well. Mikey Johnston coming in. Daryl DK is supposed to be back in October, who I think at championship level is going to be a really big presence. Obviously, was probably had his best time at Barnsley. Mason Holgate and Dean Garner have still got to come back in the side. So Mikey Johnston was huge for them, bringing him in for £3 million, beating Sheffield United to the signature, and he had an unbelievable season for them last season, didn't he? So I think the balance of Malumbi and Moa is good in there as well. Very, very, very sort of Carlos Corberán in terms of consistency as well. I think West Brom will be up there. We all know that it's not a staggering prediction from me, but I wonder how far up there they're going to be, because if Carlos is able to just continue grinding out wins, 2-1s, 1-0s, even if the odd 0-0 here and there, which we all know a Carlos Corberán side can do, especially if the three coming down aren't performing at that top level. It's going to be fascinating to see. It's going to be fascinating to see. Morning, Connor. Can you do a ratings Leeds individuals transfers this summer? Both outgoings and incomings. I can, mate. We've got something like that coming. Also, I would direct you to the Patreon, mate. We've got an article out at this moment in time that really delves into it. But yeah, I will do a video on that, mate. No problem. Let's have a quick look at what Sid said. Interesting what you say about Sunderland, West Bromwich, Albion, but player for player, we are better and stronger and better squad, of course, mate. And this is just what I will say, everybody. This is not saying Leeds are not going to do it. We're going to get onto Leeds in a little bit, but I'm just comprehensively looking at the season so far. Everything sort of encompassed in that. Normally, what you'll get is content creators making these videos and sort of doing it pre-record. Because it can be very, very in-depth, and they want to show images and videos and all this sort of stuff and statistical breakdowns. I'll try to do that by talking, because I know you guys really enjoy these sort of videos. So make sure, once again, you slap a like on the video. But West Bromwich Albion, I think they're going to be in the top 6 this season, obviously. Sheffield United. Sheffield United. Very interesting. Hamface looks up for this one, doesn't it? He looks very, very much up for this one. We saw him in his post-match press conference the other day saying, "That's the Sheffield United I know. That's the Sheffield United I know." With his sort of aggressive but sort of, assertive face, of which he's thinking, "Yeah, that's team I know, Sheffield United." Yeah, all right, Chris, calm down, mate. You're going to get yourself into hospital, mate. That pacemaker's going to run out. But yeah, getting himself very, very excited, because there was a couple of big tackles going in, and there was, I think, about 3 scraps in the latter 20 minutes of the game. That's the Sheffield United Chris Wilder knows. And I think Sousa came on afterwards and saying blades fight and all that sort of stuff. So it seems like he's already indoctrinated that his image back into the club again, of just fighting and scrapping for every point. So I think that's what you're going to get with Sheffield this season anyway. But what I will say is they are not just about fighters and scrappers. They've got a lot of quality in that team. Gus Hamer was absolutely massive to keep hold of. Obviously, we were amidst that saga as well. Callum O'Hare is a good player who's come in, but what I don't want everyone to do is hype up Callum O'Hare to something he's not. And we're going to get into just why in just a little bit. But it's been a mixed bag so far. There's definitely a conversation to be had about Kiefer Moore being up front by himself for a full season. Obviously, he came in Ipswich in the January, made an impact, was that impact signing, of which I think he got 8 goals and was able to really take them over the line. But they were very, very focused on George Hurst in the first half of the season. Something to keep a note on there. But it's been a mixed bag for them so far. Obviously, losing in the cup to Barnsley, beating Preston on the opening day of the season. I don't know. I think obviously with the -2 they had at the start of the season as well. I wonder how many goals they're going to score. And the reason I'm asking that question is genuinely because of Kiefer Moore up top. I think it was interesting at the weekend because it looked like Sheffield were playing more of a 4-4-1-1, and Gus Hamer was wide left, of which is just crippling. It's that kills Gus Hamer. Any sort of impact he has on proceedings, he's wide left. I don't know why he was wide left. Maybe it's because they've got O'Hare and Vinny Sousa in the middle. I'm not sure. But Harrison Burrows looks good already, of which we knew on that left-hand side. He looks very, very decent in terms of his delivery, his defensive work as well. Gilchrist came on. Thought he looked okay. But I think there's a bit of a throw up there between Gilchrist and Jamie Shackleton on that right-hand side. Don't think there's much between them. Maybe that's why Leeds United opted out of going for Gilchrist, because he looks all right, but I wouldn't, pin promotion hopes on him getting maybe 8 to 10 to 12 goal involvements over the season. I think he looks okay. I think I would much rather have Jayden Bogle. And I think Chris Wilder, if he's been honest, would have much rather had Jayden Bogle than any of the options they've got on that right-hand side. I think Harry Souttar's a really big addition at this level because he's just ginormous. And I think if Wilder focuses on set pieces and has that technical delivery that they have in Hamer and O'Hare, I think with more in there, Suter, Souza, big players like that, they're going to cause teams massive problems. As we know in the Championship, a lot of it is about physicality. But I do wonder if, we know that a lot of it is on grit, determination, and fight with Wilder, and he's done it at this level before, of course. But I just wonder about his pragmatism. He's moved away from the three at the back now. Basham and Connell and all that sort of stuff have moved on. He seems to be a little bit more wedded to a 4-4-1-1 or a 4-2-3-1. And I wonder if he's going to be able to vary that up when the backs are against the wall a little bit. Kiefer Moore, I would question for a full season as a number 9 with sort of Tyrese Campbell behind you. I don't know if that's going to be good sustenance for the remainder of the season. And I wonder about Callum O'Hare. I like Callum O'Hare, and I've glazed him up on a lot of my videos. I have, don't get me wrong, and he was definitely an option for Leeds. I do wonder, however, similarly to what he was at Coventry, points that have rotation between him and Casey Palmer, but I wonder how in games he's going to be. And I think to get the best out of Sheffield United, you need to move Gus Hamer in the middle. If you're not going to do that and you're going to put O'Hare in there as a flair player, he's going to be very in and very out. And I wonder if that's going to be enough sustenance for Sheffield United over the season. Okay, Watford. This is in no particular order, really, everybody, as well. I've just been speaking about, the teams who I think are going to threaten. Watford, I think they've had a really decent start. I think Watford are going to tail off a little bit. I like Cleverley. I think, we saw when we went down there and got the 2-2 last season, but he just imprinted this way more intense, offensive, tactical plan, a bit of a man-for-man system out wide as well. And they had a lot of athleticism in that game. Watford looked really good. And obviously Cleverley's got the job on a permanent, and they've won 3 wins out of 3 games out of 4, I should say. Now, the only thing that makes me question that is when you looked at them against Sheffield United at the weekend, and that's the metric, that was probably Watford's toughest game so far. There was a considerable gap, in my opinion. And it looked like Sheffield United just bullied them, absolutely bullied them. And it also felt like the flair that Sheffield United had on the pitch was just way too much for Watford. So that's what I'm basing it on right now. Really good start for them. Really impressive start. As I mentioned at the start, they've managed to retain a lot of athleticism in that side as well, which I think is good for a championship campaign. I do wonder how that is going to go forward, though, when you're coming up against the bigger teams, because I think the bigger teams are just going to absolutely be able to take them apart, really, when it comes to quality and that physicality as well. I wonder with Loser out, if Loser comes back in, he probably gives them a little bit more physicality in that team. But they were very, very rattled at the weekend, and I think that they're there to be got at, really, when it comes to that. So I wonder if that's going to be a bit of a tactic for teams coming up against Watford, your Cardiffs, your bottom of the table strugglers, where they just physically get into them, and that becomes a thing throughout the season. I wonder. Let's Blades ramble in the building. Blades finish above Leeds, 100%. Come at me. Probably you should do, mate. You should do. You got those parachute payments. Shout out to you as well, mate. Dublin Leeds. Hi, Connor. Do a lot more balanced as a side this year. Rutter was a clutch player, but I do think more rounded as a side. Thanks. Great show as always. Yeah, mate. We'll get into Leeds, of course. We'll get into Leeds. Couldn't beat Barnsley. But yeah, talking about Burnley as well. Burnley are going to be interesting. And obviously we'll round with Burnley and then Leeds. Just, I don't know with them. I mean, watch the Sunderland game, and that's obviously when they had a lot of the players that they got rid of. There's a mass amount of Burnley players who left in that period. They got stripped, didn't they? Absolutely stripped towards the back end of that window. And you look at the side now, Jayden Anthony, of which we're well aware of on that left, didn't get much games for Leeds. Lyle Foster, I think them keeping hold of him, who scored at the weekend, is big. At one point, we thought he was going to go. I think he can be an absolute demon at this level. I just look at the team. Obviously, look, Laurent coming in and Brownhill is a good pivot, but it's a good pivot. It's not an exceptional pivot, in my opinion, at this level. I just wonder with Burnley. I think here's my take on Burnley. The Blackburn game at the weekend, with the amount of late goals they scored with Vincent Kompany, the quality, they beat Luton 4-1, they beat Cardiff 5-0, but their XG was so low. They pretty much scored with every shot on goal, which is very, very unique. Is that going to happen for the remainder of the season? I don't think so. Their XG at the weekend was pretty low. They're in control as you'd expect Burnley to have the possession against the Blackburn side, who I believe were reduced to 10 men, weren't they? And they have the control of these games. But, I look at that Sunderland game in particular. I thought Sunderland were the better side, the much better side, much more balanced, a lot of youthful exuberance in there as well. And that's against a team who've just been demoted from the Premier League and a team who really, with the resources available, should be taking Sunderland apart, really. Benson off the bench, Rodriguez off the bench. Okay, not bad, but maybe, when you were looking earlier on in the season when they had Weghorst off the bench, very, very different conversation. Another, obviously, artillery off the bench as well. Zahori, off the bench and stuff like that. So I wonder if they're going to be able to last it. And I think they will. I genuinely believe they will. I think it's going to be a top 6 job. But the top 2, I just wonder. I looked at that bench and I thought, I think they're going to have to do a bit of work in January there. A bit of work in January to be able to have that sustenance. Now, we saw with Ipswich last season when it came to January, Jesus. And look, we'll talk about Jeremy Sarmiento when he came in January from Brighton. You look at Kiefer Moore, who came in, obviously, from Bournemouth. When you look at Sheffield United have brought in Kiefer Moore from the start of the season. I like Kiefer Moore. I'm talking about Sheffield United a little bit there. I don't know if he's a well-rounded enough striker for you to get a lot from him. You look at our striker in Matteo Joseph, a 10 times better striker, in my opinion, when you look at all the fragments of being a centre forward. I know he's earlier on in his development, but all have been a centre forward, all the hallmarks of being one. I think Matteo Joseph has it in abundance over Kiefer Moore. Kiefer Moore is a link-up target man, right? Matteo Joseph has pace, football IQ, a better strike on him than Kiefer Moore, and he's actually really decent in the air as well, Matteo Joseph. And I think he's a very, very underrated link-up player as well with the midfield. So look, when you're looking at that, when you're looking at Jeremy Sarmiento coming in, and he was a bench option for Burnley at the weekend, I think it's a good option. I do think it's a good option, but I'm interested to see Jeremy Sarmiento from the beginning of the season for a full season. Because once again, like Kiefer Moore, they've not had this full season and this full season of consistency for a long time in their career, really. Sarmiento's not had it at Brighton. He's not had it at Ipswich. Kiefer Moore, when was the last time he had it? Did he have it at Bournemouth? No. Where did he go on loan previously? Was it Cardiff? I'm not quite sure. But, I wonder how these players are going to last for the full season. Burnley are interesting defensively. I look at them and I think, and as I've just mentioned previously, I think under Vincent Kompany, this Burnley side, with all the late goals, the beautiful patterns of play, how quick and rapid they were, I don't think they're going to be the same under Scott Parker. I really don't. And in all fairness to Parker, he doesn't have the players at his disposal that Vincent Kompany had. So I wonder how that will develop. And I'm going to get your thoughts, everybody. But Leeds United are probably the last team that I'm going to speak about when it comes to this promotion picture. Leeds, mixed bag so far, hasn't it? It's been a mixed bag. We've had a draw with Portsmouth, which I thought was really poor, conceding 3 goals at home on the first day of the season. Nowhere near good enough. Borough absolutely battered us in the cup competition, of which they made 7 changes. We made 8 changes. So it's very similar. Borough, another outside shout, by the way. They're looking fantastic so far this season. I wonder how that's going to develop with them under Carrick. Is this the season maybe where they actually get within that top 6 and are able to push a little bit? I wonder. But obviously, the draw with West Bromwich Albion, I thought was disappointing. I thought with the players on the pitch, Leeds could have hurt West Bromwich Albion if we actually wanted to. And my criticism there was at the manager's door. But what we have done is we've turned it around a little bit in the last 3. The West Bromwich Albion game, you have to say, I think any team going to West Brom this season, I think if they pick up a point, they'll be happy. And that's including Sunderland, Sheffield United, Burnley, Luton, whatever, Watford. I think you'd be really happy with the point at West Bromwich Albion. So when you take it into context, it's not a bad point whatsoever. I just felt Leeds could have won that game if we had a little bit more attacking impetus. Alongside that, we took apart Sheffield Wednesday last week, which, if we're being brutally honest, should have been 4-0, should have been 5-0. They just were not in the game. It was completely dominant, which was a good win for Leeds. And then obviously at the weekend against Hull City, I thought we're dominant in that game as well. And what has to be said about that is a lot of our new signings were in there, but there was a fair few didn't really get a lot of involvement. Al Tanaka, Schmidt wasn't even on the bench. But then you look going forward, obviously Manos Solomon was completely teasing Hull City and had a really good game, albeit some bits were needed to be improved on, in my opinion. But we had a lot of new faces really who've probably not met members of the squad, and we went into a Hull City game, of which they've been together a little bit longer. And look, I thought to myself, we did well. We did well in that game. A big test is going to be against Burnley. If we come through that test against Burnley, we beat Burnley, and especially if we beat them well, put a bit of a statement win on there, then you think, okay. But I think Leeds have had tough games so far, but I think we've not had a bad start. I'll be honest. I don't think we've had a bad start. I think there's been, I'd argue probably, there's an argument maybe Sunderland have had a tougher start than us. I'm not 100% sure Leeds have had the toughest of starts. I think West Brom was always going to be a tough game. But I do look at Burnley on the way back, and I think that's going to be our biggest test so far. So right now, I think we look good. I think what we have above a lot of sides at this level is depth. And what I will say is the balance as well with Leeds United. I think there's been a development from Daniel Farke as well. We are suddenly seeing 3 attacking midfielders. You're also seeing the fullbacks literally play as wingers. And then we've got the wingers there as well. So Leeds at points are going forward with 7 men. I'm not kidding. And this was shown against Sheffield Wednesday. It was shown against Hull City in particular, where there are 7 players going forward. Now, we didn't do that last season. We were heavily reliant on 2 players to create everything. Now, it feels, in all fairness to Daniel Farke, that all of a sudden, there's a little bit more of a tactical plan around Willian Yonto. And there is an obvious, we said it on the watch long, there is an obvious difference in how Leeds United are attacking, because we're just attacking with 6-7 bodies at points. And what we're doing is we're getting in between all the breakages. So all the line disruptors, Leeds are getting in between, the central midfielders. There might be 2 players in between. The centre midfielder and the left winger, there's a player in between. So what that means is teams in low blocks, as we saw with Hull City at points, as we even saw with Sheffield Wednesday at points, I would say, they're going to struggle a little bit more against Leeds now, in my opinion. I felt there wasn't a lot of development in Farke's coaching last season. I think he was heavily reliant on Rutter and Somerville to create something out of nothing. This season, there seems to be a little bit more of a tactical plan around Willian Yonto, which may have been in the works for a while now, with the thought process that Rutter and Somerville are going out. And that's me giving Daniel Farke a lot of credit there, because there is a different tactical plan right now. And as I've mentioned previously, when you look on our bench and you've got a £16 million defender in Max Verber, who was playing on loan at Mönchengladbach last season and was one of their top players, he's on the bench. You then look at Rothwell, who was part of a Southampton side who got promoted last season and was heavily involved for a large portion of the season. You've got Autanaka, who's a Japanese international and was playing in the Bundesliga last season for a snippet. You've got Schmidt, who's coming in, who was playing against Trabzonspor literally the other day and scored an absolute worldie goal and looks like he's going to be a proper player at this level and is highly rated. You look at Joel Peru, who comes off the bench at the weekend and scores. You look at Dan James. This is what we've got on the bench. This is what Leeds United have got on the bench. Now, I'm actually going to have a look and see if I've missed anyone out here, and you guys will tell me in the chat. But this is what we've got off the bench. And when I look at, let's say, Sheffield United, when I look at Sunderland, when I look at players like teams like that, I should say, do they have that artillery off the bench? Sheffield United, as a comparison, they're bringing Jamie Shackleton off the bench. We're bringing Sam Byram off the bench. You know what I mean? As rotation, I'd rather have Sam Byram over Jamie Shackleton. Largely Ramazani. We've not even spoken about Ramazani coming in for 11 million quid. This is what we have off the bench. So when you're looking at a starting 11 of Melier, Bogle, Rodon, Strauch, Firpo, let's say for argument's sake, Gruev, Ampadu, Nonto, Aronson, Solomon, Joseph, you've then got on the bench, and you can look, if you want to, you can throw in Pat Bamford, okay? Rothwell, Peru, Ramazani, Tanaka, Byram, Bamford, James, Verber, Gelhardt. That as a balance is ridiculous for championship level. And I still would expect Leeds United, with the money left over, and this is why I've put on the title, the January transfer prediction, I'd still expect us to go and do another one, because we were in the green when it comes to financial. So I'd still expect, with what Daniel Farke said, he said that Leeds United, I'm going to have to work with what I've got. Okay. But yeah, we did want a 10. So I predict in the January transfer window, we're going to go for a number 10. However, what we do have to bear in mind as well is Sheffield United will strengthen, because I think keep them off for 6 months, good addition. Don't get me wrong. That impact player that you need. I think for a full season, that's going to be scrapped. I think they're going to go for another striker, maybe in January. I think Sunderland are going to have to beef up their depth in January. They're going to have to. But Sunderland are looking good. What I've seen of Sunderland, they look quite scary, actually, to be honest with you. That intensity, the manager's belief, the youthful exuberance, the replacement of Jack Clark, which Mundell's come in and just, it's seamless. And if anything, Sofai looks better than Jack Clark from an overall perspective, including his defensive work. Patrick Roberts in there, who's a little bit more experienced now. We know that, and is a quality operator. Sunderland, Watford, I think will fall off. Could be wrong, but I think Watford will fall off. West Bromwich Albion with Johnston coming back in. DK's going to be back in October. I think it is Dean Garner at this level is going to be useful if he has a full span of fitness. And I think they'll end up adding. They've got their new takeover as well, haven't they? Which I think they're under embargo. I don't know when that's going to be lifted. But, we know, obviously, even with Sheffield United, they're amidst the takeover right now. So is that going to be a bit of development as well in January? It's going to be interesting to see that. So I think these teams will enhance in January, but a Leeds better set up than any of that top 6 right now when it comes to a squad. I think we are. And has the manager developed in a sense where you're looking at a post Jorginho Rutter and a post Crysencio Somerville Leeds United team? I think he has. I think you're seeing that when we go forward. Now, the big test for Leeds United is going to be against Burnley. We've got a tough month coming up. Really tough month coming up when you look at Norwich away as well. We've got some of the big boys, but Sheffield United coming at home as well in the near future. And as I've just said, we've got Burnley. So big tests are coming, of which if you're throwing 7 players forward in a transition, the problem is if you don't make the most of that transition, the other team are going to hit you on the counter-attack. And we did see that against Hull a little bit when we throw 7 forward and then you get maybe Miller coming forward on that left-hand side, who's a dangerous operator at this level. But I think right now, when you look at the balance of the side, let's go through this one more time. When you look at the balance of the side, Rothwell, Peru, Ramazani, Tanaka, Sam Byram, Joe Gelhardt, Max Ferber, Pat Bamford, Dan James. That's all on the bench. That is all on the bench at championship level. So, yeah, right now, I think Leeds are in a strong position. I think we are in a strong position. And I think a lot of teams, I don't know, I still see a lot of teams talking about us, but I don't know if they respect us fully. And that'll come. That'll come when we punch them on the nose, which I fully expect us to do to some of these sides in this division who are classified as the big boys. I expect us to go and absolutely roundhouse them on the nose. I expect that. And I expect Leeds United to win this division because I think we're better. I think we're better. I think that the ceiling that this squad has is a lot higher. I have that nerviness in me that is just embedded in me from being a Leeds United fan for years and years and years. But I genuinely believe this season, with the additions, we've had a stronger start than last season as well, and it's still been a bit of a bumpy start, with the drop points against Portsmouth, the drop points against West Bromwich Albion. But I'm looking forward to these big games. I'm looking forward to Burnley. I genuinely am. I'm like, okay, let's see. Let's see what you can put up against us, because your left winger was on our bench last season. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. And that's not just the only thing I'm pointing at, by the way, but I think Burnley are not the Burnley they were under Company. I think Sheffield United have got a good 11, but I don't think the bench is up to much. And I think as Wilder sort of said, a lot of it's going to be based on grit and fight and determination and all that sort of stuff. I think Leeds have just got that. And then you look at, obviously, West Bromwich Albion. Do they have as much quality as Leeds? I'm not 100% sure they are. There's an argument they've got a better coach. I think they have got a better coach. But I also think that there is, we potentially have a lot more quality than they have. So, yeah, let's see what you guys are saying in the comment section below as well. Do you agree? Do you disagree with what we say? Let me know in the comment section below. Okay, Any team starting Jaden Anthony, left wing, and Joe Worrell, centre back, are not as good as Leeds. I think, look, Jack, you spot on there. And I think that's the depth that we're talking about, mate, when it comes to Burnley. This isn't the Burnley that we're talking about previously, in my opinion. And once again, Steve's going to be out for this one as well. It looks like Benson's potentially out for this one when they come to Ellen Road. But I think they've got to do something in January, Burnley. I think they've got ramshackled towards the back end of the window. Woody says, more push Ipswich over the line, to be fair, was a good sign. It helps full team. Bit like what Bamford was like under Bielsa in Champ. I mean, was Bamford ever good for Bielsa in the Championship? He had sort of one good season, didn't he? Where Leeds created about 900 chances and he only managed to get 16 goals. But what I will say about Kiefer Moore is, look, for half a season, he's been decent. And he's been half. That's why I said we should have gone for him last Jan. I said we'd go for him in last Jan. As I've said, I wonder for a full season if he's the full-rounded striker you need to get you 20, 25 goals. What we've got to look at is McBurney was a level above Kiefer Moore. Fact. Level above Kiefer Moore. You know, McBurney scoring against Real Madrid. Kiefer Moore, look, I think just Ollie McBurney was a much more well-rounded footballer than Kiefer Moore. So we'll have to wait and see. Jack says 0.94 XG conceded in open play in 4 games. That's a fantastic stat. A really, really good stat. Jack also says Schmidt and Au for midweek fixtures need to be rotated with Firpo, Bogle and Gruev. That is a cheat. We're attacking a 3-1-6. Yeah, presumably Immortal. You've seen the video going around on Twitter. Fallout says, you're going off names. Verba is shite. Half the players ain't as good as you think. No quality. I don't know what you're at. Are you a Leeds fan? Interesting. So why is he? Why is Verba? Let me know why he's rubbish. Is that because he had a poor game against Middlesbrough because he was in Gladbach's top 2, top 3 players last season? So he's not, is he? Let's be honest, he's not. And you know, I think that's what you're basing that on. But factually, you're wrong. He was also in a Ralph Rangnick Austrian international setup, which is revolutionary at this moment in time, and they are very, very good. And featured a little bit in the Euros, them, didn't they? So to have him as a backup centre back, tell me a better backup centre back than him in the division. Let me know. Get back to me on that concept. And look, with what you're saying, it's fine, but you're wrong. Unfortunately, you're wrong there. These players ain't as good as you think. You could be right there. Maybe they're not, and we'll find out in the season going forward. No quality player drops from the Bundesliga to the EFL. Well, who are you referring to? That this is Ferber because Tanaka was Bundesliga too, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you mean there. But I think that's an extremely negative way of looking at it, to be honest. Defo, if we can add a 9 or 10 in January to get over the line, then no problem. Says Roland. Martin says, all very well, having a very strong bench. We have a manager historically reluctant to use them tactically all game. Yeah, Martin, what I would say is that there's definitely been a bit more usage of the bench this season. Maybe you trust them a little bit more. Maybe it's in his ideology a little bit more. But I will be, don't get me wrong. We're going to have to look at Farker. We're still going to have to look at him. And with this squad, he should be doing a lot better. Should be doing a lot better than last season, I should say. Good morning, Connor. Hello, mate. Connor, don't say that to Joe and the rest of the Bamford followers. I do think Perot is a backup in the number 9. Yeah, I think he is, mate. I think he is. Are you going to burn the game, Connor? I should be doing, mate. I'm asking if you're a Leeds fan. Are you a Leeds fan? Because listen, mate, Fallout Frontier, we don't get, it's not purely Leeds fans. It's not purely Leeds fans on this channel. Blades Ramble, Sheffield United fan. We get Burnley fans on here. I'm asking you the question, mate. Don't be sensitive. I'm asking you the question. Are you a Leeds fan? But yeah, I wondered. That was my question. Calm down. And let's not get abusive. The irony of saying not to get personal and then to get personal. Villa fan, there we go. Classic example there, my friend. We really need Leeds back in the Premier League. Too many rubbish fan bases. Good luck from a Villa fan. Yeah, shout out to you, mate. Thank you so much for your support. Yeah, let's get this guy out. He's an absolute clown. He's now abusing the chat. You're an idiot, mate. See you in a bit. Jan Pickles says, "Good morning, Connor. My only issue with Farkas substitutions is his timings." Yeah, I agree, everybody. But it's going to be fascinating to see. It's going to be fascinating to see how we delve into this really, and how we get a little bit further forward in the progression of Leeds United. I genuinely believe there's a really good ceiling with this side. I think you look at Matteo Joseph getting on the score sheet at the weekend as well. That's 3 goal involvements in 4 games. Pre-season, he got 4 goals as well, and I think he's been really good so far. Joseph's been one of my standouts. I think he's been excellent as a centre forward. People want to see the dark side to a centre forwards game. We've seen that as well. You've seen the dark side to a centre forwards where can he do this? Can he do that? Can he battle with defenders? Can he run the lines? Can he do the channel work? Can he drop deep? Can he spin off the centre back? He's done all the things that people want a centre forward to do without getting the goal. He's got the goal at the weekend now, a really, really good finish. He's also got one fantastic assist against Sheffield Wednesday. In that, look, if Aronson hadn't finished that off as well for the first goal, in my opinion, that would have been a penalty, and he'd have probably took that away, hopefully, if he'd have had that confidence. I think Joseph is a real player at this level. I really do think that. Yes, Conrad, hi, MW. Okay. Burnley, Cardiff, and Cov in September. How many points are we talking? Jack, it's going to be tough, mate. It is going to be tough. I think we can say that it's going to be a challenging month. And what we'll do is we'll get Leeds' fixtures up. How about that? Let's get Leeds' fixtures up going into that period. I don't think it's going to be easy. I really don't. Leeds have got some tough games coming up. Let's have a quick look as a fan base. Let's have a little gander. Okay. So Burnley, obviously going to be tough. Cardiff, you'd expect all 3 points there. Coventry's going to be tough. We didn't beat them last season, but I'm expecting all 3 points. They don't look as good last season, in my opinion, so far. Norwich should be winning the game, but Norwich look like they're steadily improving and are going to be difficult at Carrow Road, but we've got a good record down there recently. These are the big ones. I mean, look at this. Sunderland away, Sheffield United at home, and Watford at home. They are massive games, those 3 there. October's a tough run. Bristol City away from home is going to be tough as well. Looks like we've got a bit of a decent period here for me. These 5 games, maybe even 6 games. We look into that November, December period, and Leeds have got a good sort of, phase of fixtures. But I think this month in particular, end of September, start of October, this is where it's really going to, we're going to put the cat among the pigeons, I think, hopefully. Blaze Ramble says, so if Joseph gets injured, what are your options? To be honest, mate, I'd say we'd go for Peru, who I would say, if you're comparing the sides, and obviously you guys have been demoted from the Prem, and you've got sort of Tyrese Campbell as a backup. I don't mind it. I don't mind Tyrese Campbell, but I think there's a lot more that you get from Joel Peru, to be honest with you. I think a lot of Leeds fans are looking at this and saying there needs to be, we don't want Peru to go. I don't think any of us wanted Peru to go, or maybe some did, but I don't think the people that I speak to, and didn't want him to go. We needed to see a bit of a managerial development on that player, a little bit of coaching, a little bit of confidence put into Joel Peru. What can he do? How can we get the best out of him? We also have Ramazani, who's played as a forward for Almeria last season in La Liga at points. So I think if Joseph gets injured, don't get me wrong, I think it's not going to be ideal, of course, but I think I would prefer the Peru and potential Ramazani, Nonto maybe as a false 9 as well. I'd prefer those as replacements than sort of a downgrade from Kiefer Moore to Tyrese Campbell. That would be how I'd look at it, to be honest. So we'll have to wait and see, mate. We'll have to wait and see. But it is interesting. It's an interesting conversation, definitely. It is a hard schedule. Thoughts on Villa this year? Yeah, mate. Yeah, Villa good side. Very envious, mate. Very, very envious of where you guys are. Hopefully we'll be there at some point. Very, very, very well-managed club. Howdy, Connor. Totally rate the new squad. My only concern is Greb. Surely Au is our best start, and Greb last 20. Yeah, I'd agree. Au should be starting. Tanaka should be starting. I think we're all aware of that. I think the interesting thing with him is, are we going to start him in sort of defensively minded games? I think Gruev is probably going to start a little bit more in these defensively minded games. But yeah, Tanaka for me is the number one who should be starting. Right, guys, we're going to leave it there. Now, listen, what I need you to do is if you want, head on over to the Patreon. Thank you so much for your donations. You can hit the thanks button as well. Shout out to Michael. Shout out to Sharkman, who donated to the last video. Thanks in the description below as well. All contributions go towards the run of the channel. We've got Patreon, articles, podcasts, videos, all that there. We're just about to go and record a video now for the Patreon, but also we've got the debrief back this evening with myself, Gabe Stutamore, and Oscar Marriott, guys. So it's been an absolute pleasure, and I'll see you very soon. Cheers.